When a single father in a wrinkled shirt walks into a Fortune 500 interview with his 6-year-old daughter, everyone laughs until he drops a professional MMA fighter in under 30 seconds. But that 30-second fight wasn't the real test. It was what came after. A billion-dollar conspiracy, a CEO fighting for her company's survival, and one man who refused to let her fall. This is the story of how a child's stuffed rabbit, a father's deadly skills, and a woman's desperate gamble collided into something nobody saw coming. Stay until the end, hit that like button, and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The glass doors of Nexera Technologies whispered open at exactly 8:47 a.m., and Ethan Ward walked through them like a man who'd already lost everything that mattered. He wasn't supposed to look like this. Not here. Not in this temple of steel and ambition where every surface reflected success back at itself. His shirt, white, cotton, definitely clean this morning, had picked up wrinkles during the subway ride. The left cuff had a small coffee stain he'd tried to rub out with spit and a napkin. His tie sat crooked. His shoes were good ones, maybe 3 years ago, before the soles started separating at the heel. And then there was Mia. His daughter walked beside him, one small hand wrapped around his index and middle fingers, the other clutching a stuffed rabbit that had seen better days. The rabbit's name was Mr. Hopsworth. One of its button eyes hung by a thread. Mia was 6 years old, wearing her favorite dress, the blue one with yellow flowers that she'd picked out herself because it reminded her of the picture book about the garden. Her hair was pulled into 2 ponytails that Ethan had managed after 3 YouTube tutorials and one minor meltdown about the brush pulling too hard. She looked up at him as they crossed the lobby. "Is this where you're going to work, Daddy?" "Maybe, baby. We'll see." The lobby was enormous, 60-foot ceilings, marble floors polished to a mirror shine, a reception desk that looked like it cost more than Ethan's entire annual income. And people. So many people. 63 of them, according to the email he'd received. 63 candidates for one position, Nexera's new head of personal security. They were all here, all of them dressed like they'd stepped out of a catalog. Sharp suits, designer watches, leather briefcases, hair that moved in unified directions. They stood in clusters, networking, laughing at jokes that weren't funny, performing confidence like it was a required skill. Ethan felt every single pair of eyes turn toward him. Then he felt them turn toward Mia. The laughter started small. A chuckle from somewhere on his left. A whispered comment from a woman in a gray pantsuit. Then it spread like a wave breaking against a shore. Is this a job interview or a daycare drop-off? Maybe he's looking for the family entrance. Someone should tell him this isn't bring your kid to work day. Ethan didn't respond. He'd learned a long time ago that men who looked like him, men who showed up with wrinkled shirts and children and lives that didn't fit into neat boxes, didn't get the benefit of the doubt. Responding meant engaging. Engaging meant losing. So he walked toward the registration desk, Mia's hand still in his, and pretended the room wasn't watching. The receptionist looked up. Her name tag said Claire. She had kind eyes, which Ethan appreciated more than she'd ever know. "Name?" she asked. "Ethan Ward. I'm here for the security position interviews." Claire scanned her tablet, her eyebrows pulled together. "I don't see you on the— Oh, wait. Here you are. You were added late. Last night, actually." She glanced at Mia, then back at Ethan. "Is she— Are you—" "I couldn't get a sitter," Ethan said quietly. "I called yesterday and explained. They said it wouldn't be a problem." That was half true. He'd called. He'd explained. Nobody had actually confirmed it wouldn't be a problem, but nobody had said no either, and Ethan had learned to interpret silence as permission when he had no other choice. Claire hesitated, then smiled at Mia. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Mia. This is Mr. Hopsworth." She held up the rabbit. "He's very handsome. Okay, Mr. Ward, you're checked in. Head through those doors, take the elevator to the 43rd floor. Someone will direct you from there." "Thank you." As they walked away, Ethan heard Claire pick up her phone, heard her say something about the candidate with the kid, and, "Should I notify someone?" He kept walking. The elevator was packed. Ethan and Mia squeezed into the back corner. The other candidates filled the space around them, still performing, still peacocking. A man in a navy suit that probably cost $3,000 glanced at Mia, then at Ethan. "You know this is for head of security, right? Not building maintenance?" The elevator laughed. Ethan didn't. "I know what it's for," he said. "Just checking. Wouldn't want you to be embarrassed when you realize you're in the wrong place." Mia looked up at Ethan. He squeezed her hand twice. Their signal. "I'm okay. You're okay. We're okay." The 43rd floor opened into a reception area that made the lobby look modest. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Furniture that belonged in a museum. Abstract art that Ethan suspected cost more than a house. A woman in a black suit stood waiting, clipboard in hand, expression carved from ice. "Candidates, follow me. We'll begin with the preliminary assessment." They moved as a herd. Ethan and Mia trailed at the back. The woman led them down a hallway lined with glass-walled conference rooms. Through the windows, Ethan could see people working, meetings happening, deals being made, the machinery of corporate power grinding forward. Then the hallway opened into something unexpected. A training facility. Full size. Rubber mats covering the floor. Weight racks along one wall. A boxing ring in the corner. This wasn't standard office equipment. "Nexara takes security seriously," the woman announced. She still hadn't introduced herself. "Our CEO, Ms. Monroe, requires protection that goes beyond theory and certifications. We need to see what you can actually do." A murmur rippled through the candidates. Half of them looked excited. The other half looked like they'd just realized they'd brought the wrong resume. "You'll be assessed on situational awareness, threat response, and physical capability. We'll begin with basic combat scenarios. When your name is called, step onto the mat." She started reading names. One by one, candidates stepped forward. They sparred with instructors, former military by the look of them. Some did well. Some didn't. Ethan watched, cataloging techniques, noting patterns. Mia sat on a bench against the wall, swinging her legs, humming something under her breath. "Daddy?" she whispered. "Yeah, baby." "Why are all these people fighting?" "It's not really fighting. It's like showing what they know, like when you do show and tell at school." "Oh, are you going to do show and tell?" "Probably." "Will you win?" Ethan looked at her. 6 years old, too young to understand what winning actually cost. Too young to know that her father had spent 8 years in places where winning meant staying alive, where losing meant coming home in a box or not coming home at all. "I'll do my best," he said. 20 minutes in, a man stepped onto the mat who made the other candidates look like children. 6'5", maybe 260, all of it muscle. The woman with the clipboard introduced him as Marcus Chen, former UFC middleweight contender, current Nexara combat instructor. "This is our primary assessment," she announced. "Each of you will face Mr. Chen for 1 minute. We're not looking for you to win. We're looking to see how you handle pressure, how you move, how you think." The first candidate lasted 11 seconds before getting swept and submitted. The second made it to 43 seconds through pure defensive survival. The third tried to strike, got countered, and ended up with a bloody nose. Ethan felt his heart rate slow, that old familiar calm settling over him like a second skin. Muscle memory older than his daughter, older than his marriage, older than the man he'd tried to become when he left the service. Ethan Ward. Every head in the room turned. The laughter started again, quieter this time, but there. "Oh, this is going to be good." Poor guy's about to get embarrassed in front of his kid. Ethan stood. He looked down at Mia. "Stay right here, okay? Don't move." "Okay, Daddy. Good luck." He walked onto the mat. Marcus Chen waited in the center, hands loose at his sides, stance relaxed but ready. He wasn't smiling, but Ethan could see the assessment happening behind his eyes. Wrinkled shirt, dad bod starting to form around the middle, probably pushing 35. No visible muscle definition. This wouldn't take long. The woman with the clipboard raised her hand. 1 minute, begin. Neither man moved. The room went quiet. 63 candidates watching, instructors watching. Somewhere in the building, Ethan assumed, cameras were watching. He could feel Mia's eyes on his back. Chen shifted his weight, a tiny movement, barely perceptible, testing to see if Ethan would react. Ethan didn't. He stayed centered, hands at his sides, breathing steady. "You gonna do something?" Chen asked. "Or just stand there?" "Waiting for you to commit," Ethan said quietly. Chen smiled. Then he moved. Fast. A jab-cross combination meant to set up a takedown. Professional technique. Clean execution. The kind of attack that would overwhelm 99% of people in under 2 seconds. Ethan wasn't 99% of people. He slipped the jab by a half-inch, let the cross pass over his left shoulder. As Chen committed to the takedown, Ethan's right hand came up, not in a punch, but in a palm strike to Chen's elbow, redirecting the energy, using Chen's momentum against him. Chen stumbled. Not much. Just enough. Ethan was already moving. He stepped offline, hooked Chen's lead leg with his own, and put both palms on Chen's chest. Not a shove. A placement. Leverage and timing and 8 years of training that had nothing to do with sport and everything to do with ending fights before they started. Chen went down, face first, hard enough that the mat made a sound like a bass drum. The room went silent. Ethan stepped back, hands up, showing he was done. Chen pushed himself up, shaking his head, more surprised than hurt. He looked at Ethan like he was seeing him for the first time. "What the hell was that?" "Judo. Some jujutsu, little bit of sistema." "You train?" "Used to." "How long ago?" "I stopped about 6 years ago." Chen stood, rolling his shoulder. "Could have fooled me. You move like you never stopped." The woman with the clipboard was staring. So was everyone else. The laughter had evaporated. In its place, something else. Respect, fear, confusion. Ethan walked off the mat, back to Mia, and sat down like nothing had happened. "Did you win?" Mia whispered. "It wasn't about winning, baby." "But did you?" Ethan smiled despite himself. "Yeah, I guess I did." 3 floors above the training facility, in an office that cost more per square foot than most people's homes, Avery Monroe stood at her window and watched the city pretend to care about things that mattered. She was 30 years old, 5'7" in heels, 5'4" without them. Auburn hair pulled back in a style that cost $200 to maintain every 3 weeks. A suit that fit like it had been designed specifically for her body, because it had. She'd built Nixera from nothing. 3 people in a shared office space 7 years ago. Now they had 42 floors, 1,800 employees, and a market cap that fluctuated between 12 and 15 billion, depending on which analyst you asked. She'd sacrificed everything for this. Relationships, sleep, the possibility of a normal life. Her father told her she was obsessed. Her mother told her she was throwing away her chance at happiness. Both of them were probably right. Neither of them understood that this, the building, the company, the empire she'd constructed, this was her happiness. This was the only thing that made sense. Her phone buzzed. A message from Derek Vale, her acting head of security. The previous head had retired 2 months ago, and Derek had stepped into the role while they searched for a permanent replacement. He was competent, efficient, maybe a little too ambitious, but that wasn't unusual in Nixara's ecosystem. Everyone wanted to climb. Derek. Preliminary assessments underway. Nothing impressive so far. Chen is going easy on them. Avery typed back, "Going easy won't tell us what we need to know." Derek. Agreed. Should I have him increase intensity? Avery. Use your judgment. She set the phone down and returned her attention to the window. Somewhere out there, someone was planning something. She could feel it. Had felt it for weeks now, that electric tension in the air before a storm. Anonymous messages, encrypted files sent to her personal email. Warnings that felt too specific to be pranks, but too vague to be actionable. The most recent one had arrived 3 nights ago. No subject line, just a single sentence. You're going to need someone who can protect you from the inside. And attached to it, a file. A personnel record. Military service. classified deployments, commendations she wasn't supposed to be able to see, a name, Ethan Ward. She'd had her people vet him. On paper, he was unremarkable. Discharged 6 years ago, working private security for mid-level executives, living in a rent-controlled apartment in Queens with his daughter. Wife deceased, cancer 3 years ago. No criminal record, no red flags. Just another guy trying to survive in a city that ate people like him for breakfast. But the file that had been sent to her told a different story. It told a story about a man who'd done things in places that didn't officially exist. A man who'd been pulled out of combat operations not because he wasn't good enough, but because he was too good. Because the things he could do scared the people giving orders. So she'd added his name to the candidate list. She hadn't told Derek why. Hadn't told anyone. If the warning was real, if there was a threat inside her own company, she needed someone outside the system, someone who couldn't be bought or compromised. Her phone buzzed again. Derek. You need to see this. Avery. See what? Derek. Training floor, camera 3. Now. Avery pulled up the security feed on her tablet. Camera 3 showed the training facility from an elevated angle. She could see the candidates, the instructors, Marcus Chen on the mat, and a man in a wrinkled shirt walking away from him while Chen got up from the floor. She rewound the footage, watched it again. Chen attacking, the man slipping the strikes like they were moving in slow motion. The takedown that wasn't a takedown, the redirection, the palm placement, Chen hitting the mat hard enough to make the impact visible on camera. 27 seconds, that's how long it took. Avery checked the roster, found the name. Ethan Ward. She smiled. Well, the assessments continued for another 2 hours. Ethan passed every single one. Situational awareness. He identified 4 hidden threats in a mock office environment that nobody else spotted. Threat analysis. He correctly assessed which of 6 scenarios represented actual danger versus distraction. Firearms proficiency. He put all 15 rounds through the center mass of a target at 25 yards without hesitation. By the time they broke for lunch, the other candidates had stopped laughing. Some of them looked nervous, others looked angry. Derek Vale looked like he'd just watched his carefully planned day explode in his face. Ethan found a quiet corner of the break room and opened the lunch he'd packed that morning. Peanut butter and jelly for Mia, a turkey sandwich for himself, an apple they could share. Mia sat next to him, eating slowly, kicking her feet. Are you going to get the job? She asked. I don't know yet. I think you will. You were really good. Thanks, baby. She was quiet for a moment, chewing. Then, if you get the job, will I still see you? The question hit harder than Marcus Chen's takedown attempt. Ethan set his sandwich down. What do you mean? Jenny at school, her dad got a new job, and now he's gone all the time. She only sees him on weekends. Will that happen to us? Ethan pulled her closer. She fit perfectly under his arm, head against his ribs. Listen to me. No job in the world is more important than you. Not one. If I take this job, it'll be because it's good for us, both of us. And I'll never, ever be gone so much that you forget what I look like, okay? Okay. I promise. You can't break promises. I know, that's why I only make ones I can keep. Across the room, Derek Vale stood with his arms crossed, watching them. He looked like a man trying to solve a problem he hadn't expected. 6'2", athletic build, sharp jaw, sharper suit. He'd been with Nixara for 4 years, working his way up from field security to team leader to acting department head. This permanent position was supposed to be his. Everyone knew it. The interview process was a formality, a box to check for HR compliance. Then Ethan Ward showed up and threw 27 seconds of combat at his carefully constructed narrative. Derek walked over, smiled. The smile didn't reach his eyes. Hell of a performance out there, he said. Just trying to do what was asked, Ethan replied. Where'd you train? That wasn't your typical MMA gym stuff. Here and there, I moved around a lot. Military? Yeah. What branch? Army. Specialized training? Ethan looked up at him, held his gaze. Some. Derek's smile tightened. Look, I'll be straight with you. This position requires more than just combat skills. It requires discretion, political awareness, the ability to navigate complex social dynamics. Ms. Monroe operates in circles where showing up with a wrinkled shirt and a kid doesn't exactly inspire confidence.